It was a utopian kingdom with strong military and naval power. Its people had sophisticated knowledge capable of creating engineering marvels and awe-inspiring architecture, but it sank beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean within a day and a night, never to be seen again. The legendary city of Atlantis has been fueling our fascination since its story was first told 2,300 years ago. But no one has ever found any trace of it, no matter how hard they've tried. Will we ever find its ruins? Or did Atlantis never exist in the first place? Join us as we delve deep into this captivating enigma that has tantalized people's imaginations for thousands of years to find out what most likely happened to the city of Atlantis. The story of Atlantis can be traced all the way back to around 360 BC in Plato's dialogues Timaeus and Critias. In his writings, a man named Critias shares the story of Atlantis, an ancient civilization that existed thousands of years before. The story was told to him by his grandfather, who visited Egypt to meet one of the 7 sages, Athenian poet and lawgiver Solon. Solon, in turn, learned about Atlantis from Egyptian priests. According to the story, the gods of old divided the land amongst themselves. Poseidon, the god of sea, storms, and earthquakes, was given dominion over a large island. At some point, he fell in love with a mortal woman, Cleito. It is said that he built Atlantis for her, creating a palace out of the mountain in the center of the island and enclosing it within 3 concentric rings of land, separated from each other by wide moats. Canals, tunnels, and bridges connected the entire island together. A temple to Poseidon was also built at the center, where the people would offer sacrifices and worship him. According to the description, the island was larger than Asia Minor and Libya combined. The land was lush with vegetation and rich in precious metals. Atlantis was also home to many rare and exotic wildlife. Poseidon had many sons with Cleito. He appointed his eldest son Atlas as king and named the island as well as the surrounding waters in honor of him. Atlas had many sons as well, and he divided the land into 10 separate kingdoms, allowing each son to govern his own territory. The inhabitants of Atlantis, the Atlanteans, enjoyed living in their politically and scientifically advanced society. Everyone was happy and at peace. It was utopia. However, over time, Atlantis slowly became morally and spiritually corrupt. As they grew in power, their greed to consume and conquer also grew. Eventually, the armies of Atlantis went out as far as Egypt and Europe, invading these lands and threatening the people with slavery. It was the small city-state Athens who revolted against Atlantis, refusing to submit and become their slaves. Together with their allies, they were able to defeat the Atlantean armies. The story doesn't end there, however. Because of their hubris, greed, and disrespect, the gods punished Atlantis, causing earthquakes and floods, thereby sinking the island into the vast Atlantic Ocean. This cataclysmic destruction of Atlantis is said to have happened within the span of a single day and night. Thousands of years have passed since this great city sank beneath the waves, never to be seen again. Many have wondered about the truth of its existence. Even the ancient Greeks, including one of Plato's disciples, couldn't decide whether to believe that Atlantis was real or simply a metaphor. The mystery of Atlantis has encouraged so many explorations and speculations about its origins and the location of the city's demise. Plato's writings mention that the story of Atlantis was told by Egyptian priests. It was also written on an ancient papyrus that Solon read while in Egypt. However, there are no written records prior to Plato's writings that talk about Atlantis or any ancient civilization that fits the description given. We can only base our search for the famed city on Plato's dialogues. Unfortunately, despite the wish of some, no definitive proof has surfaced regarding the truth of Atlantis's existence. Over the years, many underwater ruins and formations have been found in the search for the lost city. There's the discovery of a submerged metropolis just off the Greek coast, believed to be 5,000 years old. It featured the ruins of roads, homes, and tombs, and is said to be the city of Pavlo-Petri. On the Mediterranean seabed near Egypt, scientists also found remnants of a temple along with 5-meter-high statues. These are believed to be part of a coastal city called Heraklion, which was flooded 1200 years ago. Atlantis, it was not. One theory suggests that the legendary city was in the Azores or the Caribbean. Charles Berlitz, a well-known author of books on paranormal phenomena, speculated that Atlantis may have been located near the Bahamas and was swallowed up by the Bermuda Triangle. Structures off the coast of Bimini that looked like man-made walls and streets are often used as evidence to support this theory. However, scientists have studied these structures and believe them to be just natural beach rock formations. Another theory claims that Atlantis was what we now know as Antarctica. Charles Haygood published a book in 1958 called Earth's Shifting Crust. In it, he stated that the Earth's crust had shifted around 12,000 years ago. This shift caused the continent that later became Antarctica to be displaced. Haygood believed that this land was located much higher north than what scientists say. The Atlanteans were used to a temperate climate, and this sudden shift exposed them to a frozen environment, causing the people as well as the city itself to be buried under layers of ice. However, there is no scientific evidence available to support this theory. A German computer whiz, Michael Hubner, proposed that Atlantis may have been located off the coast of Morocco. He gathered all the geographical traits of Atlantis that Plato mentioned in his writings and entered them in a mapping program. These geographical traits included the ring-like structure of the island, the presence of elephants, and its proximity to Athens, which was supposedly 3,100 miles. Using statistical analysis, the program came up with a location that matched the geographical traits the most. And that spot was along the Morocco coastline, approximately 100 miles south of the Suez Massa Plain in Marrakesh. The location that Hubner's mapping program found is a desert basin that's approximately 7 miles from the sea. More importantly, it was within 3,000 miles of Athens. The desert basin featured concentric circles at its edge with black and red stone. According to Plato, Atlantis was an island with concentric rings and featured black and red stone. Unfortunately, however intriguing these matching details may be, there was little evidence that a once great civilization existed on that land. It would be hard to believe that the tsunami had completely wiped out any trace of the Atlanteans and their homes. The most credible theory that supports Atlantis' existence is the island of Santorini. Some believe that this island in the Aegean Sea was the legendary city. According to historians, Santorini was home to a highly advanced society, the first civilization in Europe. The people are believed to have been the first to use written language. They built infrastructures such as paved roads and an extensive drainage system. Unfortunately, the Minoans were wiped out at the height of their power. The island was devastated by a large tsunami caused by a massive volcanic eruption 3,600 years ago, around 1,300 years before Plato's time. However, one cannot help but notice that there are several discrepancies between what we know about Santorini and Plato's descriptions. First, Plato stated that Atlantis existed around 9,000 years before his time. The Minoan civilization in Santorini came much later. Second, the archaeologists found that this island had no palaces. It is believed to be primarily a democratic and egalitarian society. They don't sound like they're power-hungry people dead set on invading their neighboring cities. Third, Santorini is nowhere near the Straits of Gibraltar. Fourth, the size of Atlantis was said to be bigger than Asia Minor and Libya combined. Santorini does not fit that description. Last but not least, no body was ever found on the excavated site of the Minoan civilization. This suggests that the people may have had enough time to leave the island before disaster struck. The Atlanteans were not so lucky. Of course, some would argue that some of the details may have been changed by Plato to fit his purpose. But if we consider that some details of Plato's story are false, then how do we know which one to believe in? In that case, nearly any location can be made to fit the description provided by the great philosopher. There's no way that we'd be able to tell which is the true Atlantis. A tale about a utopian society that holds the key to incredible infrastructures, advanced technologies, and even the secret to world peace is no doubt immensely captivating. And being able to see the ruins of such a great civilization is nothing short of incredible. But the search for the barest hint of its existence has yet been able to prove that this myth is reality. Instead, all we have are speculations, lost fortunes, and even lost lives. Why is that? After looking at all the theories and evidence that explorations have dug up, there's only one answer that we can come up with. Atlantis cannot be anything but a work of fiction. Countless people, including archaeologists, have tried to locate the lost city. As we've already mentioned, many theories have tried to pinpoint its location from the Atlantic Ocean and neighboring countries in Europe all the way to Antarctica. However, Plato was pretty clear as to where Atlantis was located. He stated that it was in front of the mouth of the Pillars of Heracles. In other words, the island, which has a landmass bigger than Asia Minor and Libya combined, should be found in the Atlantic Ocean near the Straits of Gibraltar, aka the Pillars of Heracles. And yet, no amount of technological advancement in oceanography and ocean floor mapping has ever found a trace of this one great civilization in this area. Many scientists believe that Atlantis was simply a tale created by Plato to warn people about the dangers of hubris and greed, how focusing on power and material possessions can cause society to become morally bankrupt. The people of Atlantis used to be upright, moral, and spiritual. They had everything they needed. However, they started to indulge in immoral pursuits, becoming greedy for more. And because of their quest to consume and conquer, the gods decided to punish them with one terrible night of fire and earthquakes, causing the once great city to sink beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. In fact, if we were to look at how Plato viewed Atlantis, we'd notice that the Atlanteans were the bad guys. They didn't live in a utopian society. This part of the story was introduced in the 19th century by Ignatius Donnelly, who published the book Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. It was the Athenians who were the heroes of the story. In contrast to the proud, impious people of Atlantis, the people of Athens were God-fearing and humble, and they triumphed despite the odds. That's what the story was really about. So the answer to one of the world's greatest mysteries is this: it's most likely that the city of Atlantis has already been found long ago, right where it has always been, in the pages of Plato's writings.